Horse asks bus driver for help during a stop, leaving everyone in panic. The driver's discovery left. In a scene that could easily be mistaken for a heart-pounding movie moment, a bus driver found himself at the center of an extraordinary situation that left passengers gasping and scrambling for answers. It was a routine day, the sun shining brightly and the bus rattling along its usual route, when the unexpected unfolded. As the bus came to a stop, a horse approached the vehicle, seemingly in distress. What happened next would leave everyone on board questioning the boundary between the ordinary and the extraordinary. The incident began innocently enough, with the bus driver, a seasoned professional named Mark, pulling over at a designated stop. Passengers, with their heads buried in phones or lost in conversation, had no inkling that they were about to witness a spectacle that would ignite their imaginations. But as Mark glanced out of his window, he was met with an unusual sight. A chestnut mare trotting towards the bus, her mane flowing in the wind. At first, it appeared that the horse was merely curious, perhaps drawn by the rumble of the engine or the sound of chatter within the vehicle. However, as the horse neared, it became clear that something was amiss. Mark, taken aback, could see the urgency in the horse's movements. The animal stopped just a few feet from the bus, its large, expressive eyes pleading for attention. In that moment, the bus transformed from a simple mode of transport into a stage for an unexpected drama. Passengers turned their heads, intrigued by the unusual visitor. But as they realized the horse was not just passing by, but rather seeking help, the atmosphere shifted from curiosity to concern. What could have driven a horse to approach a bus on a busy road? The bus driver quickly assessed the situation, realizing that this was no ordinary encounter. With a heart full of compassion, he opened the door, stepping out to understand what the horse needed. Little did he know, this act of kindness would plunge him into a whirlwind of emotions and challenges that would test his resolve and compassion like never before. As Mark approached the horse, he noticed a visible mark on her leg, a sign that something was indeed wrong. The mare shifted uneasily, whinnying softly, almost as if she were trying to communicate her distress. At that moment, the bus became a microcosm of human emotion, with passengers watching in disbelief and empathy. Some gasped, while others reached for their phones, capturing the moment that seemed too surreal to be true. This wasn't just a horse asking for help. This was a call to action, a reminder of the bond that exists between all living beings. The urgency of the situation became palpable. Mark, now faced with the responsibility of aiding this distressed creature, had to make quick decisions. Should he risk delaying his passengers to assist a horse in need? The weight of that question hung heavily in the air, yet the instinct to help was overpowering. He called out to the passengers, explaining the situation while assessing their reactions. The bus, filled with a diverse group of individuals, became a vessel of collective concern. In what felt like an eternity, the passengers' initial shock transformed into a unified resolve. Many stepped forward, eager to assist in any way they could. Some suggested calling animal control, while others offered to help Mark secure the horse. The bus, once a mere transit space, became a hub of compassion and action. Together, they brainstormed ideas, each person contributing to the collective effort to ensure the horse received the care she desperately needed. As Mark knelt beside the horse, he felt an overwhelming sense of connection, not just to the animal, but to the people who had come together in this moment of crisis. The bus, a symbol of daily life and routine, transformed into a platform for humanity. It was a poignant reminder that, in times of need, we often find strength in numbers, and the willingness to help crosses all barriers. The unfolding scene continued to draw the attention of bystanders outside, who stopped to witness the unexpected drama. People stepped out of their vehicles, their curiosity piqued, as they approached to offer assistance or simply to watch the unfolding events. The horse's plight had become a community affair, drawing in strangers who felt compelled to help. With each passing minute, the situation grew more intense. Mark, now fully immersed in this unexpected rescue, knew that time was of the essence. He attempted to assess the horse's injury while maintaining a calm demeanor, reassuring both the animal and the anxious passengers. It was a delicate balance, and the stakes were high. The surrounding crowd buzzed with speculation, some offering advice while others simply watched in awe. The bus, once a mundane mode of transit, had become a living tableau of compassion, a testament to the unexpected ways in which lives can intertwine. As Mark worked diligently to comfort the horse, he couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than just a chance meeting. It felt like a moment of fate, a convergence of lives that would leave a lasting impact on everyone involved. The bus passengers, who had been strangers just moments ago, were now united in a shared purpose. The scene was unfolding like a modern fable, a reminder of the bonds that unite us all, regardless of species. The palpable energy in the air was charged with anticipation and empathy. What would happen next? Would they be able to help the horse? Would this event change their lives in ways they could not yet comprehend? The questions lingered, but one thing was certain. This moment would forever be etched in their memories, a story to tell for years to come. As the tension in the air thickened, Mark found himself in a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. He was acutely aware of the eyes upon him. Those of the passengers, the bystanders, and even the horse, who seemed to sense his urgency and concern. The mare, now calmer but still visibly distressed, had become the focal point of a collective energy that resonated deeply among everyone present. Each person, whether they were a seasoned commuter or a curious onlooker, felt the weight of the situation. It was as if they had all stepped outside the boundaries of their individual lives and into a shared narrative of empathy and action. Mark knelt beside the horse, gently running his hand along its neck, trying to provide comfort. The horse responded with a soft nicker, a sound that resonated with both relief and the continued distress of its injury. Meanwhile, the bus passengers began to rally around him, forming a makeshift team. One passenger, an elderly woman named Margaret, stepped forward with a soothing voice. With years of experience working with animals, she had a calming presence that seemed to ease both Mark's nerves and the horse's anxiety. "Let's take a look at that leg," Margaret suggested, her voice steady and reassuring. She had a deep-seated belief in the goodness of people and animals alike, and her years had taught her that compassion could bridge any gap. Mark nodded, grateful for her guidance. Together, they carefully examined the horse's injured leg, trying to ascertain the severity of the wound. It appeared that the horse had gotten caught in some sort of barbed wire, leading to a laceration that required immediate attention. Meanwhile, another passenger, a young college student named Jake, sprang into action. He pulled out his phone and began searching for local animal rescue services. "I'll call for help. We need to get a vet out here," he declared, his determination evident in his voice. The urgency in his tone rallied others around him, with several passengers offering to help him search for the right contacts. Their collective focus shifted from shock to action, transforming the bus into a hub of problem-solving and mutual support. As Mark worked alongside Margaret, applying gentle pressure to the horse's leg to keep it steady, he could see the compassion radiating from those around him. This was not just a group of strangers anymore. They were a community forged in a moment of crisis. Mark felt a swell of gratitude for each person who had chosen to step forward, to lend their hands and hearts to a creature in need. It was a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of all living beings, a lesson that often gets lost in the hustle of everyday life. Outside the bus, the scene had attracted even more onlookers. Cars slowed down as drivers craned their necks to see what was happening. Some people parked their vehicles and joined the gathering crowd, drawn by the spectacle of a horse asking for help from a bus driver. Children pointed in amazement, their eyes wide with wonder as they witnessed the unfolding drama. The event was taking on a life of its own, each moment adding to the narrative of compassion and community that was blossoming on that busy street. Back inside the bus, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of anxiety and hope. Passengers were engaged in animated discussions, sharing ideas and suggestions on how to best assist Mark and the injured horse. Some were taking photos and videos, documenting what they felt was a moment that transcended the ordinary. This was not just an incident. It was a shared experience that would bond them in ways they could not yet understand. As time ticked by, the initial panic began to subside, replaced by a newfound sense of purpose. Mark, now focused and resolute, spoke to the passengers about the importance of staying calm and collected. "We need to keep the horse relaxed until help arrives," he explained, his voice carrying an air of authority that quelled the rising tension among the group. The passengers nodded, their expressions shifting from concern to determination as they rallied behind him. With Margaret by his side, Mark carefully wrapped a makeshift bandage around the horse's leg using a scarf from one of the passengers. The act of wrapping the wound became a symbol of their collective effort, a physical representation of their unity in the face of adversity. Each twist of the fabric was infused with hope and determination, weaving together the individual stories of each person on the bus into a single narrative of compassion. As they finished securing the bandage, a distant siren began to wail, gradually growing louder as it approached. The sound was a beacon of hope, signaling that help was on the way. A wave of relief washed over the group. The collective breath they had been holding now exhaled in anticipation. Mark felt a surge of gratitude towards the passengers, each of whom had contributed to this moment of solidarity. He looked around at their faces, some worried, others resolute, and felt an overwhelming sense of pride in what they had accomplished together. Just then, the animal control vehicle pulled up to the curb. The crowd parted as a tall, confident figure emerged from the vehicle, a veterinarian named Dr. Emily. With a calm demeanor and a reassuring smile, she surveyed the scene, her eyes quickly landing on the horse. "What do we have here?" she asked, and Mark stepped forward to explain the situation. As he recounted the details, the passengers listened intently, their expressions a mix of concern and hope. Dr. Emily knelt beside the horse, assessing the injury with a practiced eye. "We'll take care of her," she assured everyone, her voice firm yet gentle. The way she spoke instilled confidence in the passengers, many of whom had been holding their breath in anticipation of what might happen next. Mark felt a sense of relief wash over him. The burden of responsibility was now shared with a professional who knew exactly what to do. As Dr. Emily began to work, the atmosphere shifted once more. The tension that had gripped the group slowly transformed into a sense of camaraderie. Passengers exchanged smiles and glances, each person aware that they had played a part in this unfolding drama. The bus had become a vessel of compassion, a place where lives intersected, and a story of resilience was being written. And so, as the sun continued to shine brightly overhead, illuminating the scene with a golden hue, the extraordinary encounter between the horse, the bus driver, and the passengers became a testament to the power of kindness. It served as a reminder that in moments of crisis, we often discover the depths of our humanity, the strength of our connections, and the beauty of coming together to care for those in need. As Dr. Emily gently examined the horse's leg, Mark and the passengers watched with a mix of hope and anxiety. The veterinarian's hands were steady, her expertise evident in the way she assessed the injury. "This isn't too severe, but we'll need to clean it up properly," she stated, her tone reassuring. The mare, now slightly calmer under Dr. Emily's touch, seemed to sense the collective energy of care surrounding her. Margaret, who had been a source of comfort throughout the ordeal, stepped forward again, her eyes glistening with empathy. "She's a beautiful creature," she remarked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's heartbreaking to see her in pain." Her sentiments echoed through the group, a reminder of the emotional bonds that tie humans to animals. The passengers nodded in agreement, their shared concern weaving a tapestry of compassion that enveloped them all. Jake, still holding his phone, took the opportunity to capture the moment, snapping a few pictures of Dr. Emily working on the horse. "This is incredible," he remarked, glancing at the other passengers. "I mean, how often do you get to witness something like this? It's like we're all part of a story." His words hung in the air, resonating with the group. The notion that they were part of something larger than themselves was palpable, a shared experience that would remain etched in their memories. As Dr. Emily cleaned the wound, she explained each step to the passengers, turning a moment of crisis into an educational experience. It's important to keep the area clean to prevent infection, she explained, her voice steady and calm. And we'll need to monitor her for a few days to make sure she's healing properly. The passengers listened intently, their initial panic replaced by a sense of purpose. They were no longer just witnesses to an unusual event. They were participants in a rescue mission. Mark felt a wave of gratitude towards Dr. Emily. Her presence had transformed the chaotic scene into one of order and hope. "Thank you for coming so quickly," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "We were all quite worried about her." Dr. Emily smiled, her demeanor warm and approachable. "It's what I love to do," she replied, her passion evident. "Every life is worth saving, no matter how big or small." As the crowd watched in silence, a sense of unity enveloped them. Strangers had become allies, bonded by the shared goal of helping the horse. The bus, once a simple means of transportation, had morphed into a sanctuary of kindness. No longer were they just passengers on a bus. They were a community, joined together by their compassion for a creature in distress. With the wound cleaned and bandaged, Dr. Emily began to assess the horse's overall health. "Let's check her vitals," she said, reaching for her stethoscope. The mare stood patiently, seemingly comforted by the hands that were caring for her. Mark noticed how the horse's breathing had steadied, her large eyes reflecting a glimmer of trust. It was a powerful reminder of how the bond between humans and animals can transcend fear and uncertainty. Outside, the bystanders who had gathered began to disperse, satisfied that help had arrived. Some offered words of encouragement, while others snapped photos to document the event. "You all did great," one passerby declared, giving a thumbs up as he walked past. Mark smiled, appreciating the support from the community. It was a small gesture, but it underscored the collective effort that had unfolded that day. As Dr. Emily continued her examination, she spoke to the passengers about the importance of animal welfare. "It's essential to always be vigilant when it comes to animals' health," she explained. "If you see an animal in distress, don't hesitate to call for help. They rely on us to advocate for them." Her words resonated deeply with the group, igniting a newfound awareness of their role in the lives of animals. Mark, inspired by Dr. Emily's passion, felt a shift within himself. He had always been a bus driver, navigating the same routes day in and day out. But today had opened his eyes to the possibilities of connection and compassion. "I think we all learned something today," he said, looking around at the passengers. "This experience reminds us of the importance of being present and responsive to those in need, whether they're human or animal." Margaret chimed in, her voice rich with emotion. "Yes, it's a beautiful reminder that we're all part of a larger community. Sometimes it takes a moment like this to see just how interconnected we really are." Her words struck a chord with everyone, fostering a sense of reflection and gratitude for the shared experience. Just then, the sound of another vehicle approaching broke the moment. A small animal rescue truck, adorned with bright colors and a logo of a galloping horse, pulled up beside the bus. The driver jumped out, a young woman with a ponytail and an infectious smile. "I got the call. What do we have here?" she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. The passengers, still buzzing from the earlier events, greeted her with nods and smiles. Dr. Emily introduced herself and explained the situation succinctly. "We've assessed her injury, and she's stable for now, but we need to get her to the clinic for further treatment," she said, her professionalism shining through. The rescue worker nodded, quickly assessing the horse's condition. "Let's get her loaded up then," she said with determination. The passengers all jumped into action, eager to assist. They formed a human chain, passing supplies and assisting in the loading process. Mark directed the effort, ensuring that everything was done smoothly and efficiently. The atmosphere was charged with camaraderie as everyone worked together, a testament to the strength of human connection. As they carefully loaded the mare into the rescue vehicle, Mark felt a surge of pride. This was more than just a rescue. It was a moment of transformation for everyone involved. They had come together, united by a common goal, and had shown that compassion knows no bounds. With the horse safely on her way to receive the care she needed, Mark turned to the passengers. "Thank you all for your incredible support and kindness," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "This has been a day none of us will forget." The passengers nodded, their faces reflecting a mixture of relief and satisfaction. They had faced an unusual challenge together, and in doing so, had discovered the strength of community. As the bus resumed its route, the conversations among the passengers flowed freely. They shared stories, laughter, and reflections on the day's events, each person contributing to the collective narrative. It was no longer just a bus ride. It was a journey of connection, a celebration of empathy, and a testament to the power of coming together in times of need. And so, the ordinary day, which had begun with a simple bus ride, transformed into an extraordinary tale of compassion and unity. The horse had asked for help, and in doing so, had awakened something profound within each person on that bus. A reminder that we are all part of a larger tapestry of life, woven together by our shared experiences and our capacity for kindness. Each person left that bus with a new sense of purpose, knowing that even in the most unexpected moments, we can make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for all living beings who share our world. As the bus continued on its route, the atmosphere inside was charged with a sense of accomplishment. Conversations flowed easily among the passengers as they recounted the day's events, each person eager to share their perspective on the extraordinary incident. The bus, now a vessel of shared experiences, carried with it a collective memory that would linger long after the day had ended. Mark, the driver, felt a profound sense of connection to his passengers. He could see the change in their demeanor. The initial shock and confusion had morphed into a spirit of camaraderie. They were no longer mere commuters, but a community bonded by their shared act of compassion. The bus ride had evolved into an impromptu support group, where laughter mingled with reflections on the unexpected turn of events. In the back of the bus, a young mother named Lisa cradled her baby while recounting the story to her child, who listened wide-eyed. "You see, sweetheart," she said, her voice soft yet animated, "sometimes even the smallest creatures need our help." That horse was brave for asking for it. The child nodded, absorbing the lesson nestled within the tale, unaware that this moment would shape their understanding of empathy for years to come. Meanwhile, Jake, the college student who had first suggested calling for help, engaged in a spirited conversation with Margaret. They discussed their backgrounds, discovering a shared love for animals and a commitment to advocacy. "I've always wanted to volunteer at a shelter," Jake confessed, his enthusiasm contagious. "This experience has inspired me to finally do it." Margaret smiled, her heart warmed by his resolve. "It's never too late to start making a difference," she encouraged, her own passion for helping animals evident in her tone. As the bus moved through the city streets, the scenery outside blurred into a backdrop for the unfolding narrative inside. Each stop brought new passengers, who entered the bus unaware of the extraordinary events that had transpired just moments before. Mark found himself sharing snippets of the story with newcomers, their faces lighting up with curiosity and wonder. The tale of the horse and the bus driver became a thread that wove through the fabric of their day, igniting conversations about compassion and the unexpected ways in which lives can intersect. One elderly gentleman, who had just boarded the bus, leaned in and asked, "Did I hear something about a horse? Sounds like quite the adventure." Mark chuckled, excited to recount the story once more. As he shared the details, the other passengers listened intently, their expressions reflecting a sense of shared wonder. It was as if they were all part of a living storybook, each chapter more captivating than the last. With each retelling, the narrative grew richer, layered with the diverse perspectives of those who had experienced the moment firsthand. The passengers began to reflect on their own lives, sharing anecdotes of times they had stepped up to help others, whether human or animal. The bus transformed into a venue for storytelling, a space where vulnerability and strength coexisted. As the journey continued, Mark noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The passengers, inspired by the day's events, began to discuss how they could make a difference in their communities. Ideas flowed freely, organizing a local animal rescue event, volunteering at shelters, or even starting a community awareness campaign about animal welfare. It was a spontaneous movement of goodwill, ignited by the urgency of that fateful stop. In the midst of this dialogue, Mark felt a swell of pride. He had merely started his day as a bus driver, but now he was a catalyst for change. The horse had asked for help, and in doing so, had opened a dialogue about compassion that resonated deeply within the hearts of those on board. It was a powerful reminder of the ripple effect one act of kindness could create. As they approached the final destination, the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden light through the bus windows. Mark glanced in the rearview mirror, taking in the smiling faces of his passengers. He felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the experience they had shared, one that transcended the ordinary and ventured into the extraordinary. When the bus finally rolled to a stop, Mark turned to his passengers, his voice filled with sincerity. "Thank you all for being a part of this incredible journey. Today, we've learned that compassion knows no boundaries and that together, we can make a difference." The passengers erupted into applause, their spirits lifted by the shared experience. It was a moment of collective acknowledgement, a recognition of the power of unity in the face of unexpected challenges. As they exited the bus, Mark watched them walk away, each person carrying a piece of the day with them. Some exchanged contact information, eager to keep the spirit of the day alive by continuing their discussions beyond the confines of the bus. Others promised to take action in their own lives, inspired to advocate for those who could not speak for themselves. And as the last passenger stepped off the bus, Mark took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The encounter with the horse had sparked something profound within him, a realization that life is filled with unexpected moments that can lead to meaningful connections. He understood that he would carry the lessons of that day with him, not just as a bus driver, but as a member of a community that had come together in a time of need. As he prepared to close up for the day, he glanced back at the empty bus, now just a vehicle parked at the curb. Yet, he knew it had been much more than that. It had been a temporary home for compassion, a stage where human and animal alike had found connection and support. And in that moment, Mark made a silent vow to remain vigilant, to keep his heart open for the signs of distress, whether they came from a fellow human or an animal in need. In the grand tapestry of life, every thread counts, and sometimes it takes an unexpected encounter to remind us of the beauty of compassion, the strength of community, and the shared responsibility we hold for one another in this world. As he drove away, Mark couldn't help but smile, knowing that this day would forever be etched in his memory. A reminder of the simple, yet profound ways we can all step up and make a difference, one moment at a time. As he drove away, Mark couldn't help but smile, knowing that this day would forever be etched in his memory. A reminder of the simple, yet profound ways we can all step up and make a difference, one moment at a time. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the road, as Mark reflected on the unexpected journey that had unfolded that day. The ride home was quieter than usual, but the silence felt comforting, almost reflective. Each turn of the bus wheels echoed the heartbeat of a day filled with compassion and community. Mark thought about the different stories shared among the passengers, each person bringing their own unique experience and perspective to the table. It was a rich tapestry woven from shared humanity, an experience that transcended the boundaries of age, background, and circumstance. As he turned onto the quiet street leading to his home, Mark's thoughts drifted to the horse and the bond that had formed between them, if only for a brief moment. He imagined her in the care of Dr. Emily and her team, receiving the attention she needed to heal. It was a comforting thought, knowing that the mare was now surrounded by people dedicated to her recovery. He envisioned her standing tall again, galloping freely across open fields, a symbol of resilience and strength. Arriving home, Mark parked the bus and stepped out, taking a moment to breathe in the cool evening air. The sky was painted with hues of pink and orange, a beautiful backdrop to the day's reflections. As he walked towards his front door, he felt a sense of gratitude wash over him. Gratitude for the passengers who had rallied together, for the horse who had sparked this extraordinary chain of events, and for the deeper understanding of community that had emerged. Inside, Mark settled onto his couch, the warmth of home wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. He picked up his phone, scrolling through the messages and social media feeds. Several posts caught his eye, with passengers sharing their experiences from the day. Photos of the horse, the bus, and the community effort were now circulating online, each image capturing a moment of kindness and collaboration. As he read through the comments, Mark felt a swell of pride. People were inspired by the story, sharing their own anecdotes about helping animals and advocating for animal welfare. The narrative had sparked a broader conversation, one that extended beyond the confines of that single bus ride. It was clear that the impact of that day was rippling out into the community, encouraging others to take action. One post stood out to him, an impassioned message from Jake, the college student. He had taken it upon himself to organize a local animal rescue event, calling on others to join him in making a difference. "Let's come together," Jake had written. "We can make our community a better place for our furry friends. If you're interested, let's meet this weekend to brainstorm ideas." Mark felt a sense of hope as he read the words. The spirit of that day was contagious, sparking a movement that could lead to real change. Inspired by Jake's initiative, Mark decided he wanted to be involved. He had always been passionate about animals, but this experience had ignited a fire within him to actively contribute to the cause. He quickly typed a response, offering his support and expressing his interest in helping with the event. He clicked send, feeling a sense of excitement about the possibilities that lay ahead. As the evening wore on, Mark found himself reflecting on the broader lessons of the day. The world we live in can often feel overwhelming, filled with challenges that seem insurmountable. Yet moments like these remind us that change begins with small acts of kindness, that we all have the power to make a difference. It doesn't require grand gestures. Sometimes, all it takes is an open heart and a willingness to step outside of ourselves to help someone in need. With these thoughts swirling in his mind, Mark felt a sense of purpose settling within him. He knew that he wanted to carry the spirit of that day forward, to continue advocating for animals and inspiring others to do the same. He envisioned a community where compassion was the norm, where people looked out for one another, whether human or animal. As he prepared for bed, Mark made a mental note to reach out to local shelters and animal advocacy groups. He wanted to learn more about how he could contribute, both as a volunteer and as a voice for those who couldn't speak for themselves. There was a world of possibilities waiting to be explored, and he was eager to dive in. The following morning, as the sun rose and illuminated his neighborhood, Mark felt a renewed sense of energy. He brewed a cup of coffee and sat down with his laptop, ready to research local animal welfare organizations. Each click of the keyboard brought forth new information, and he found himself immersed in the stories of individuals and groups dedicated to making a difference in the lives of animals. Mark reached out to several organizations, introducing himself and expressing his eagerness to volunteer. The responses were overwhelmingly positive, with many inviting him to upcoming events and training sessions. He felt a sense of belonging growing within him, a realization that he was joining a community of like-minded individuals who shared his passion for helping animals. As the days turned into weeks, Mark became increasingly involved in the local animal welfare scene. He volunteered at shelters, attended meetings, and participated in events that raised awareness about animal rights and rescue efforts. Each experience deepened his understanding of the challenges faced by animals in need, and he became an advocate for change within his community. Mark also kept in touch with the passengers from that fateful bus ride. They formed a group chat, sharing updates and ideas, and supporting each other in their collective efforts to promote animal welfare. The bond they had created on the bus continued to flourish, and they often met up to collaborate on projects and events. As autumn descended upon the city, the group organized a large community event, a fundraiser for a local animal shelter that desperately needed support. Mark took charge of coordinating logistics, reaching out to local businesses for donations, and rallying volunteers. The event was a massive success, drawing in families and animal lovers from all over the community. Under the warm glow of string lights, laughter and music filled the air. Children played with adoptable pets, while adults mingled and shared their own stories of rescue and advocacy. Mark stood at the center of it all, a sense of fulfillment washing over him. He had come full circle, from being a bus driver on a routine route to becoming a driving force for change in his community. As the event came to a close, Mark took a moment to reflect on the journey that had begun with the horse asking for help. He understood now that each of us has the power to create meaningful connections and inspire change, often in ways we cannot foresee. The horse had not only needed assistance that day, she had ignited a spark of compassion that would continue to grow and flourish within the community. As he watched families leaving with their new furry companions, Mark felt a sense of hope for the future. He knew that the bond between humans and animals was a powerful one, capable of fostering understanding, empathy, and love. And as he looked around at the smiles and laughter, he realized that everyone had a role to play in nurturing that bond. In the end, the story of the horse, the bus driver, and the passengers had morphed into a larger narrative, one of community, compassion, and resilience. It was a reminder that in a world filled with uncertainty, there was always room for kindness, and that every act, no matter how small, could have a lasting impact. As Mark drove home that evening, he felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey he had undertaken. The bus had become more than just a mode of transport. It had been a vessel of change, a means to connect with others, and a reminder that we are all in this together. And in that realization, he found a deep sense of peace, knowing that no matter where life took him next, he would carry the lessons of that extraordinary day in his heart, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. As Mark drove home that evening, he felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey he had undertaken. The bus had become more than just a mode of transport. It had been a vessel of change, a means to connect with others, and a reminder that we are all in this together. And in that realization, he found a deep sense of peace, knowing that no matter where life took him next, he would carry the lessons of that extraordinary day in his heart, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. In the weeks that followed, Mark continued to weave his newfound passion for animal advocacy into the fabric of his daily life. With each passing day, he found himself more deeply entrenched in the mission of raising awareness and promoting kindness toward animals in his community. The bond he had formed with the passengers from that fateful bus ride, now strengthened by shared experiences and efforts, became a key part of his support system. The group regularly met to discuss upcoming initiatives, brainstorm ideas, and coordinate their volunteer efforts. They developed a sense of accountability for one another, reminding each other of their commitment to making a difference. Mark took on a more active role within the group, leading discussions and coordinating efforts for various events. He felt a sense of ownership over their mission, as if each success was a reflection of the collective spirit they had cultivated. One crisp Saturday morning, they organized a community cleanup day at a local park, aiming to raise awareness about the importance of keeping natural spaces clean for both animals and people. Mark, fueled by enthusiasm, rallied volunteers from the group and spread the word through social media. The event attracted a diverse crowd, from families with children to local businesses eager to support the cause. It was heartwarming to see the community come together, united by a common goal. As they gathered at the park, Mark felt a wave of excitement wash over him. He greeted volunteers with smiles and high fives, encouraging them to share their experiences and motivations for participating. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter, camaraderie, and a shared sense of purpose. With trash bags in hand, they set off in different directions, transforming the park into a canvas of collaboration and care. Working side by side, strangers became friends, united by the simple act of cleaning up their environment. Mark moved from group to group, engaging in conversations about animal welfare and the significance of preserving natural spaces for wildlife. He shared stories from the bus ride that had ignited this passion within him, and he listened as others shared their own experiences of compassion and advocacy. As the day progressed, the park transformed. Litter that had once marred its beauty was cleared away, replaced by a sense of pride and accomplishment. The volunteers gathered at a central spot for a picnic lunch, celebrating their hard work and enjoying the fruits of their labor. Mark looked around at the smiling faces, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. They had not only cleaned the park, they had fostered connections and inspired one another to continue advocating for the causes they cared about. Mark took a moment to reflect. What had started as a seemingly ordinary bus ride had blossomed into a movement, a network of compassionate individuals dedicated to making a difference for animals and their environment. It was a testament to the power of community and the ripple effect that one act of kindness could create. As they finished their lunch, Mark stood up to address the group. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his voice steady and sincere. "What we've accomplished is monumental, not just for the park, but for the spirit of our community. Together, we're showing that we care and that we're willing to take action for those who cannot speak for themselves." Applause erupted from the crowd, and Mark felt a rush of warmth. He continued, "Let's carry this momentum forward. We can organize more events, educate others, and be the change we want to see in the world. Together, we can make a lasting impact." The energy in the air was palpable. The group was ready to take on the next challenge. As the months rolled on, Mark and his newfound friends orchestrated various events: adoption drives, educational workshops, and fundraisers for local shelters. Each event brought more people into their fold, expanding their network and amplifying their message. Mark found himself connecting with local leaders, collaborating with other organizations, and even speaking at community forums about the importance of animal welfare. The journey was not without its challenges. There were moments of discouragement and setbacks, but the support of the group made those moments manageable. They celebrated each victory, no matter how small, and rallied around one another during tough times. Mark learned that resilience was not just about individual strength. It was about leaning on those around you and embracing the collective effort. One evening, as Mark sat at his kitchen table preparing for an upcoming meeting, he received a message from Jake. "Hey Mark, I have an idea for our next event. What if we partner with a local school to create an animal care curriculum? We could teach kids about compassion and responsibility toward animals." The idea sparked a fire within Mark. It was a way to instill values of kindness and empathy in the next generation. Together, they brainstormed ideas, reaching out to teachers and administrators at local schools. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Teachers were eager to incorporate lessons about animal care into their curriculum, and they saw the value in connecting students with real-world issues. Mark and the group began to develop a program that would not only educate kids about animal welfare, but also inspire them to take action in their communities. As they worked tirelessly to bring the program to life, Mark felt a sense of purpose that extended beyond his individual efforts. He was part of something larger than himself, a movement that was nurturing compassion in the hearts of young people. The thought of influencing the next generation filled him with hope for the future. The launch of the program was met with excitement. Students gathered in classrooms filled with colorful posters and engaging activities, eagerly learning about the responsibilities that come with caring for animals. Mark visited schools to speak to students, sharing his experiences and encouraging them to think critically about the impact they could have on the world around them. He watched as their eyes lit up with curiosity and enthusiasm, and he knew they were absorbing the lessons he had once learned. As the program gained momentum, Mark received feedback from teachers and parents alike. Students were not only learning about animal care, they were also becoming advocates for change in their own families. Kids began to share stories of how they were caring for their pets, encouraging their parents to adopt from shelters, and even organizing small fundraisers to support local animal organizations. Mark felt a wave of pride wash over him, knowing that their efforts were creating ripples of kindness that extended far beyond the classroom walls. In the midst of this whirlwind of activity, Mark never lost sight of the horse that had sparked this journey. He often thought of her and how her plea for help had led to a community of advocates dedicated to making a difference. He imagined her thriving, running freely in a pasture, a symbol of the resilience of all creatures, one that reminded everyone of the importance of compassion. As the seasons changed and the year drew to a close, Mark and his friends celebrated the successes they had achieved together. They held an end-of-year gathering, reflecting on all that they had accomplished. They shared stories of impact, laughter, and the friendships that had blossomed through their shared mission. It was a night filled with gratitude, and as they raised their glasses in a toast, they knew that they were not just celebrating the past year, but also the promise of what was to come. Mark looked around the room at the faces of his friends, each one a testament to the power of community and the difference that can be made when people come together for a common cause. He felt a deep sense of connection and belonging, knowing that they had created a movement grounded in kindness and compassion. As the clock struck midnight, marking the start of a new year, Mark made a resolution. He vowed to continue advocating for animals, to nurture the spirit of compassion within his community, and to inspire others to join the cause. No matter where the journey took him, he would always remember the lessons learned from that extraordinary day on the bus and the horse that had asked for help. In the quiet moments that followed, as he reflected on the journey ahead, Mark felt a sense of peace. He knew that the road would not always be easy, but with the support of his community and the belief in the power of kindness, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The story of the horse, the bus driver, and the passengers would continue to unfold, creating a legacy of compassion that would resonate through the hearts of many for years to come.